Summer 1940, above southeastern England. Squadron Leader Douglas Bader throttled his Hawker Hurricane forward, scanning the sky for incoming Luftwaffe formations. Twin metal prosthetic legs sat motionless on the rudder pedals. Both legs lost 9 years earlier in a catastrophic crash that should have ended his aviation career permanently. German bombers were approaching London, protected by Messerschmitt fighters. The Battle of Britain had reached its critical phase. Adolf Hitler's invasion of England depended on achieving aerial superiority. RAF Fighter Command was outnumbered, exhausted, fighting for national survival. What the Luftwaffe pilots didn't know was that the pilot now climbing to intercept them possessed an unexpected advantage. No legs meant less blood pooling during high-G maneuvers. While other pilots blacked out under extreme forces, Bader could maintain consciousness, pulling tighter turns, executing more aggressive tactics. By war's end, Douglas Bader would achieve 22 confirmed victories, 20 solo and 2 shared, making him the 5th highest-scoring RAF pilot of World War II. This is the story of how a career-ending disability became a tactical advantage, how a pilot medically discharged as unfit for service became one of Britain's most celebrated fighter aces, and how iron will, exceptional skill and revolutionary tactics transformed tragedy into legend. Pilot Officer Douglas Bader, age 21, recently commissioned from RAF Cranwell, was visiting friends at the Reading Aero Club. Already establishing a reputation as an exceptional aerobatics pilot, Bader flew Bristol Bulldog biplanes with confidence that bordered on recklessness. RAF regulations explicitly prohibited aerobatic maneuvers below 2,000 feet. The Bulldog, while fast for its era, exhibited dangerous directional instability at low speeds. Multiple pilots had died attempting unauthorized stunts. Bader considered such regulations unnecessarily cautious. Reports indicate he accepted a dare from fellow pilots to perform low-altitude aerobatics. Precise details remain disputed, but witnesses observed Bader executing a slow roll at extremely low altitude. During the maneuver, the Bulldog's left wingtip contacted the ground. At speed, the impact was catastrophic. The biplane cartwheeled, disintegrating on impact. Bader, trapped in the wreckage, sustained massive injuries. Both legs were crushed beyond surgical repair beneath twisted metal, canvas and wood. Emergency responders transported him to Royal Berkshire Hospital. Surgeons, led by the prominent Leonard Joyce, assessed the damage. The right leg required immediate amputation above the knee. The left leg was amputated below the knee several days later. Bader's logbook entry for December 14, 1931, demonstrated characteristic understatement. Crashed slow-rolling near ground. Bad show. He was expected to die from shock and infection. His survival was improbable. Walking again seemed impossible. Flying again? Medical professionals considered it unthinkable. Recovery proved excruciating. Phantom pain, depression, and physical limitations that would have defeated lesser men. Doctors predicted permanent dependence on crutches. Bader refused to accept their prognosis. Fitted with metal prosthetic legs, tin alloy construction with leather straps and articulated joints, Bader approached rehabilitation with competitive intensity. The same aggressive determination that made him an exceptional athlete now focused on mastering artificial limbs. Within months, he walked without crutches, then without assistance entirely. He learned to drive a specially modified car. He played golf, eventually achieving a handicap in the low single figures. He even danced. In 1932, Bader returned to RAF Uxbridge with new prosthetics and demanded flight testing. He successfully piloted an Avro 504 biplane, the same aircraft type that had first inspired his love of aviation years earlier when visiting his aunt at RAF Cranwell. Despite passing all flight evaluations, with ratings noted as exceptional, the RAF Medical Board refused his return to active service. No regulations technically prohibited legless pilots, but bureaucratic inertia and medical conservatism prevailed. In 1933, Bader was medically discharged against his will. He accepted employment with Shell Oil Company, working in their aviation fuel division. He married Thelma Edwards, daughter of a Royal Air Force lieutenant colonel, in 1933. He maintained his flying skills through civilian aviation, and he repeatedly requested reinstatement to the RAF. Every application was denied. until September 3, 1939. Britain declared war on Nazi Germany. Suddenly, the RAF faced desperate pilot shortages. Air Vice Marshal Hallahan recommended Bader for reassessment. He passed refresher training at the Central Flying School, characteristically performing an unauthorized inverted flight at 600 feet in an Avro Tutor biplane, demonstrating both his skill and his persistent disregard for altitude regulations. In February 1940, Bader was posted to No. 19 Squadron flying Supermarine Spitfires. The aircraft represented revolutionary advancement over the Bristol Bulldogs he'd flown years earlier. Low-wing monoplane design, enclosed cockpit, retractable landing gear, 8 303 machine guns and speeds exceeding 360 mph for Bader noted immediate differences. Modern fighters required significantly different handling. The prosthetic legs presented challenges. Limited sensation meant difficulty with rudder precision. Artificial joints created different leverage dynamics, but also unexpected advantages. During combat maneuvers, pilots experienced enormous G-forces. High-speed turns pulled blood from the brain to the lower extremities, particularly the legs, causing blackout, temporary loss of consciousness that could prove fatal in combat. Pilots with legs suffered this regularly at 4.5 Gs. Bader's prosthetic legs contained no blood vessels. During extreme maneuvers, his blood remained concentrated in his core and brain. He could sustain higher G-forces longer than able-bodied pilots. He could execute tighter turns. He could maintain consciousness when opponents blacked out. His supposed disability had become a tactical advantage. May to June 1940, German forces swept through France with unprecedented speed. Blitzkrieg tactics overwhelmed Allied defenses. The British Expeditionary Force retreated toward Dunkirk for evacuation. RAF fighters provided air cover. Bader, transferred to No. 222 Squadron as flight commander, flew combat patrols over the French coast. On June 1, 1940, over Dunkirk, he engaged Messerschmitt Bf 109 fighters, protecting German bombers. His first victory. A Bf 109 destroyed, then another damaged. The engagement demonstrated Bader's emerging combat philosophy. Attack from altitude with sun advantage, close to effective range, closer than most pilots dared, often within 200 yards. Fire-controlled bursts, not extended sprays. Disengage immediately and climb for positional advantage. He favored heavy 303 ammunition that could punch devastating holes in aircraft structures. Required nerves and precision. Closing to near-collision distances, while enemy gunners returned fire, demanded exceptional courage and aircraft control. Following Dunkirk's successful evacuation, Bader was promoted to squadron leader and given command of No. 242 Squadron, a predominantly Canadian unit recently mauled during the Battle of France. Morale was catastrophic. Many pilots had lost friends. They resented their new commander, puzzled by his disability. Bader rebuilt the squadron through force of personality, tactical competence, and inspirational leadership. He led from the front. He shared risks. He demonstrated that his prosthetic legs in no way diminished his capability. Within weeks, No. 242 Squadron transformed from demoralized survivors into an effective fighting force. They would need every advantage. The Battle of Britain was beginning. The critical phase. Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring launched Operation Eagle Attack, systematic destruction of RAF fighter command to enable invasion. Luftwaffe formations attacked British airfields, radar stations, and ultimately London itself. Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding commanded fighter command with strategic brilliance. Air Vice Marshal Keith Park commanded No. 11 Group, covering southeastern England, bearing the heaviest combat burden. Dowding's strategy emphasized careful husbanding of fighter resources, avoiding unnecessary losses, maintaining defensive capability. Bader, commanding No. 242 Squadron in No. 12 Group, under Air Vice Marshal Trafford Lee Mallory, found this strategy frustrating. Based at Coltishall and later Duxford in East Anglia, No. 12 Group played a supporting role, scrambling only when No. 11 Group requested assistance. Bader craved action. He advocated loudly for what became known as the big wing tactic, assembling multiple squadrons into large formations before engaging the enemy. Instead of scrambling individual squadrons piecemeal, Bader proposed launching 3 to 5 squadrons simultaneously, achieving local numerical superiority, overwhelming German formations through concentrated firepower. Lee Mallory enthusiastically supported the concept. Park and Dowding opposed it. The controversy became increasingly bitter. The tactical debate centered on timing. Assembling large formations required significant time, 15 to 20 minutes. During the Battle of Britain, every minute mattered. German bombers approached at 15,000, 20,000 feet. If fighters delayed takeoff to form large wings, bombers could strike targets before interception. Park's strategy: scramble immediately. Engage bombers before they reached targets. Accept smaller formations. Bader's strategy: form large wings, achieve overwhelming force, inflict maximum casualties, even if bombers initially reached targets. On September 15, 1940, now commemorated as Battle of Britain Day, the Duxford Wing, comprising 5 squadrons and nearly 60 fighters under Bader's leadership, engaged massive Luftwaffe formations attacking London. The psychological impact on German crews was profound. Intelligence had told them RAF Fighter Command was nearly defeated. Instead, they encountered enormous formations of Spitfires and Hurricanes approaching in parade formation. The tactical effectiveness remained disputed. The Big Wing claimed enormous victories, inflated by the confusion of multiple pilots engaging the same targets. Dowding later noted that No. 12 Group's combat claims were more thoughtful wishing than accurate reporting. Historical analysis suggests overclaiming by factors of 7.1 or greater, but the psychological effect was undeniable. Luftwaffe morale collapsed. Within days, Hitler postponed Operation Sea Lion indefinitely. Britain would not be invaded. By the battle's conclusion in October 1940, Bader's No. 242 Squadron had achieved 67 confirmed kills for only 5 pilots killed in action, an extraordinary exchange ratio. Bader personally claimed 11 victories during this period. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Order on December 13, 1940. The Big Wing controversy had deeper consequences. Despite winning the battle, both Dowding and Park were abruptly replaced in November 1940 by officers supporting Big Wing tactics, Air Marshal Sholto Douglas and Air Vice Marshal Lee Mallory. Whether this represented natural rotation or political maneuvering remains historically contentious. Bader, likely unwittingly, had become central to an internal RAF power struggle that resulted in the removal of the 2 men most responsible for Britain's survival. In March 1941, Bader was promoted to Wing Commander and given command of the Tangmere Wing in West Sussex 3, Spitfire squadrons conducting offensive operations over occupied France, RAF. Fighter Command had transitioned from defense to offense. Large formations of bombers struck targets in France, protected by fighter escorts. German fighters scrambled to intercept. The goal: tie down Luftwaffe fighters that would otherwise deploy to the Eastern Front following Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941. Now flying Spitfire Mark V aircraft, Bader led aggressive fighter sweeps. His tactics emphasized altitude advantage, attacking from favorable positions, exploiting the Spitfire's superior performance at high altitude, and engaging Messerschmitt Bf-109s rather than avoiding them. His leadership style inspired fierce loyalty. Pilots described his charismatic, irreverent relationship with subordinates. He cracked jokes over radio during combat missions. He occasionally smoked his pipe in the cockpit, absurdly dangerous given oxygen systems, but typical of his disregard for conventional caution. Wing Commander James Johnny Johnson, who would become the RAF's top-scoring ace, served under Bader at Tangmere. Johnson later wrote, "Invisible threads of trust and comradeship hold us together, and the mantle of Bader's leadership will sustain and protect us throughout the fight ahead." Bader's victory count climbed steadily. By August 1941, he had achieved 20 confirmed victories plus 2 shared, making him one of Britain's most celebrated fighter pilots. His initials, DB, painted on his Spitfire's fuselage, became known to both RAF personnel and Luftwaffe pilots. German ace Adolf Galland engaged Bader's formations multiple times. Despite being enemies, mutual respect developed between the 2 pilots, a relationship that would prove significant very soon. Shot down. August 9, 1941 fighter sweep over northern France. Bader led 4 Spitfires on patrol near Le Touquet. At 30,000 feet, he spotted 12 Messerschmitt Bf-109s below. Standard tactical opportunity, altitude advantage, numerical parity, favorable engagement conditions. Bader dove on the formation, shooting down 1 Bf-109. He damaged another. Realizing 2 Bf-109s were turning to engage, he banked to disengage. He turned the wrong direction. The mid-air collision happened instantly. A Bf-109 sheared off sections of Bader's Spitfire's fuselage, tail and fin. Control was impossible. The aircraft spun violently toward the earth. Bader attempted bailout. His prosthetic right leg became trapped in the cockpit. The damaged Spitfire spiraled downward, with Bader half ejected, held by the artificial leg's leather retaining straps. With seconds remaining, he deployed his parachute. The sudden deceleration snapped the prosthetic leg's straps. Bader separated from the disintegrating aircraft and descended by parachute. He landed unconscious in occupied France. German soldiers captured him immediately. Prisoner of war 1941 to 1945, German forces treated Bader with remarkable respect. His reputation preceded him. Luftwaffe pilots admired his skill and courage. His disability, far from diminishing respect, enhanced it. General Adolf Galland personally visited Bader. Learning that the RAF ace had lost his prosthetic leg during bailout, Galland contacted RAF Fighter Command through diplomatic channels, offering safe passage for a replacement leg to be delivered. Operation Leg, as it was designated, occurred on August 19, 1941. A RAF Blenheim bomber, during a larger raid, dropped a specially marked container with Red Cross symbols containing a new prosthetic leg, along with bandages, socks and straps, near Saint-Omer where Bader was hospitalized. Characteristically, after the leg was successfully delivered, the British bombers proceeded to their primary targets and conducted their bombing mission as planned. The Germans were less impressed by this breach of the humanitarian gesture. Bader wasted no time attempting escape. Still recovering with only one functional prosthetic leg, he fashioned a rope from bed sheets and attempted to climb from the hospital window. He was caught. Over the following years, Bader made multiple escape attempts. German guards, initially respectful, grew increasingly frustrated. They began confiscating his prosthetic legs each night to prevent escape attempts. In August 1942, after his 4th escape attempt, Bader was transferred to Colditz Castle in Saxony, the escape-proof maximum security prisoner of war camp, reserved for incorrigible escape artists and high-value prisoners. Bader was classified among the prominente, prisoners the Nazi leadership hoped to use as bargaining chips. He remained at Colditz until April 1945, when American forces liberated the castle. Throughout captivity, Bader's morale never broke. He continued assisting other prisoners' escape attempts, maintained physical conditioning despite his disability, and remained a thorn in his captor's side. After liberation, Bader remained in the RAF until February 1946. In June 1945, he was given the extraordinary honor of leading a victory flypast of 300 aircraft over London. Commemorating the Battle of Britain's 5th anniversary, he returned to Shell Oil Company, eventually managing their aviation division. He resumed playing golf, achieving remarkable proficiency. He became an advocate for disabled rights, working extensively with BLESMA, the British Limbless Ex-Service Men's Association, serving as both member and trustee. His story was immortalized in Paul Brickhill's 1954 biography, Reach for the Sky, followed by the 1956 film starring Kenneth More. The dramatization, while sometimes romanticized, introduced Bader's story to global audiences and established him permanently as a symbol of courage, overcoming adversity. Bader maintained lifelong friendship with Adolf Galland, the German ace who had arranged the replacement leg. When Galland attended events in Britain, Bader insisted on personally assisting him. The former enemies became close friends, a testament to mutual respect, transcending wartime enmities. In 1976, Queen Elizabeth II knighted Bader for services to disabled people. His advocacy work had helped thousands of amputees. His personal motto, "A disabled person who fights back is not disabled." but inspired, became the foundation of disability rights activism. Douglas Bader died on September 5, 1982, aged 72, after suffering a heart attack at a London dinner honoring Air Marshal Sir Arthur Bomber Harris. His funeral was attended by Adolf Galland and former comrades from both sides. The story of Douglas Bader requires separating myth from fact. His prosthetic legs did provide theoretical advantages regarding G-force tolerance. Blood pooling in lower extremities causes blackout. No biological legs meant less blood volume in extremities. However, modern analysis suggests the advantage was likely modest. Well-trained pilots could sustain 6 to 7 Gs through physical conditioning and breathing techniques. Bader's prosthetics probably provided 1-2 G advantage at most, significant in combat, but not miraculous. His success derived primarily from exceptional piloting skill, aggressive tactics, inspirational leadership, and psychological resilience. The prosthetic legs were part of his legend, but not the sole explanation for his effectiveness. His victory total, 22 confirmed, 4 shared, 6 probable, placed him 5th among RAF pilots. Not the highest scoring, but achieved during the Battle of Britain's most critical phase, and during offensive operations over France, where combat intensity was extreme. The big wing controversy remains debated. Historians generally conclude that Dowding and Park's defensive strategy was correct for the Battle of Britain, preserving fighter strength while inflicting unsustainable losses on the Luftwaffe. The big wing, while psychologically impressive, arrived too late to prevent bombing and overclaimed victories significantly. However, during 1941's offensive operations, large fighter formations proved more effective, though with significantly higher losses. Fighter Command lost approximately 4-1 in day fighter combat during 1941, losing many experienced pilots, including, ironically, Wing Commander Douglas Bader. The Douglas Bader Foundation, following Bader's death. Friends and family established the Douglas Bader Foundation in 1982. The charity provides support for disabled individuals, funds rehabilitation centers, and promotes Bader's philosophy of refusing to accept limitations. The Douglas Bader Rehabilitation Center at Queen Mary's Hospital, specializing in amputee rehabilitation, bears his name. Centers were established internationally, including as far as Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. His prosthetic legs are preserved at the RAF Museum, though not in a publicly accessible section. They remain powerful symbols of human resilience, metal and leather mechanisms that carried one of history's most effective fighter pilots through some of aviation's most intense combat. At St. Edward's School, Oxford, which Bader attended, one of the houses was named in his honor. RAF stations maintain memorial displays. Aviation museums worldwide feature exhibits documenting his achievements. Former British Prime Minister David Cameron named Bader his life hero, stating, "This was a pilot who lost both legs in a flying accident, yet resolved to get back into the RAF. He spent the rest of his life helping disabled people and touring the world to speak about his experiences." The title promises a story about a pilot who defied the impossible. The reality is more nuanced and ultimately more inspiring. Douglas Bader didn't achieve 22 victories because he had no legs. He achieved them despite having no legs, through exceptional skill, relentless determination, and tactical innovation. The prosthetics provided marginal physiological advantages, but his success derived from the same qualities that enabled his rehabilitation: refusing to accept limitations, aggressive pursuit of excellence, and inspirational leadership. The supposed disability became metaphor rather than mechanism. Bader proved that perceived weakness could be transformed into strength through mindset and determination, not through magic or miraculous advantage, but through disciplined application of skill under extreme pressure. His tactical legacy, aggressive fighter leadership, close-range gunnery, altitude exploitation, became standard RAF doctrine. His leadership style, charismatic, irreverent, leading from the front, inspired generations of military aviators. His disability advocacy changed countless lives. Amputees worldwide found hope in Bader's example, not because he made amputation seem easy, but because he demonstrated that physical limitations need not define human potential. August 9, 1941, ended Bader's combat career. But his impact extended far beyond 22 aerial victories. He changed how society viewed disability. He proved that bureaucratic determinations of fitness often reflect institutional conservatism rather than individual capability. He demonstrated that human will, properly directed, can overcome extraordinary obstacles. At RAF Tangmere, a memorial commemorates the Tangmere Wing. Visitors can walk the same ground where Bader's Spitfires once stood. The airfield is silent now. The Spitfires are preserved in museums. The pilots who followed Bader into combat have joined him in history. But the record remains. The Legless pilot who defied medical discharge, institutional resistance, and Nazi Germany's finest pilots, who led bomber escort missions smoking his pipe, who transformed disability into tactical advantage through force of will and exceptional skill, who refused to accept anyone's definition of what was possible. 22 confirmed victories, hundreds of bomber crews protected, thousands of amputees inspired, a nation given hope during its darkest hour. The numbers tell the story. The legacy speaks for itself, and 84 years later, Douglas Bader remains exactly what he became in 1940, a legend who proved that true disability exists only in the mind.